Hashem's Tivtach Upi Agita Asacha. We're now in the 19th Perek of Yehoshua. And in this Perek, the remaining Shvatim are going to get their portion. Each one is apportioned exactly in accordance with the way that Yaakov Avinu, when he gave the brachas to his sons, as well as to Moshe before he died. And so it's very bekavodik that it is actually coming to fruition. Vayitze hagoral hasheni l'Shimon. So now the goral fell on Shimon. Now, if you just picture that there were the names of the Shvatim and all the territories, and they basically were able to say, okay, so this is going to be Shimon, and this is what he was going to have. And then the goral, the lottery, would then substantiate it. And they would mix it up, and they would pull out, and it was always exactly on target. So Shimon gets his land. Vahi nachlasam b'soch nachlas b'nei Yehuda. The portion that he gets is inside. It's the one and only shevet whose portion is within the boundaries of Yehuda. Now, why is that? So we're going to have to jump back to what happens with Shimon and Levi in the time of Yaakov. And when he gives the bracha to, his parting words to Shimon and Levi, he calls Shimon and Levi achim, your brothers, klei chamas machrosein, your weapons, you use lawlessness. So one would think that, okay, they're both lawless people, so it's going to be even Steven. But no, that's not at all what happens, because ultimately he gets upset with them because of what they did with Shechem. Arur apam, cursed be your anger. Ki az be'arasam ki kashata achalkem b'Yaakov va'afitzim b'Yisrael. So your anger is so fierce, and so relentless that I'm going to have to divide you in Yaakov, and I'm going to have to scatter you in Yisrael. So how does that tie into what we're saying? How it ties in is that sometimes we're in the position, Klal Yisrael's in the position of Yaakov, and sometimes we're in the position of Yisrael. When we're in Galus, we are the Yaakov. We have a heel. We're just the heel. We're the lowlifes, so to speak, in the eyes of the other nations. If that's the case, achalkim, then you're going to have portions. I'm going to divide them in portions, meaning that it's really very, very important that we take everything that we can, the fierceness and the toughness in Galus that we're going to need, we take that portion and we bring it with us in all situations. But afitzim b'Yisrael, when do we get scattered? When we're Yisrael, when we are the best mentioned, when we are the princes, when during the time where we have Eretz Yisrael and it's our land, then scattered. And that's exactly what happened, because we were kind of brought together in is Shevet Shimon. Shevet Shimon, when it came to Yehuda, they were bunched together, but when we are Afitzim b'Yisrael, when we're scattered, that is Levi. Levi was scattered. Remember, there were 42 plus 6, so there were 48 cities all throughout the country. And it was Levi that ultimately were so beneficial in being the religious helpers of Klal Yisrael. Now, what's very interesting, so now we have an understanding. Now, how is it why is it that Levi gets one thing, they get to be scattered, and Yehuda and Shimon gets bunched? So really, we have to go even further back. We have to go back to the understanding of why each one of them thought and did what they did to Shechem. So Levi was doing it in order to completely L'Kiddush Hashem. Their zealotness was really L'Shem Shamayim, completely. You cannot do this for Hashem's sake. But on the other hand, Shimon was, not misguided, but he chose to do it in order, you can't do this to Bnei Yaakov. You can't do this to us and to my father. He was avenging the name of his family. Now, that trickle down because later on, when in the story of Zimri and Cosby, when there was a Shimon prince who slept with a non-Jewish woman, the people of Shimon gathered around and supported the situation because he's one of ours. Remember, it's our name. He's a part of our clan. And what happened, on the other hand, who parted ways with them? Pinchas, who ultimately killed Zimri and Cosby. He was zealous, and he was from Levi. And he said, no, it's always for the sake of the honor of the Bnei, of the Hashem, not for my own honor, not even for the honor of Bnei Yisrael, but it's always for the sake of Hashem. And so for that reason, their perspective was different. And so sometimes when we're in Galus, we need that zealousness. But really, when times are in Eretz Yisrael and when we're refined, it is Levi who is the scattered among, because Levi, really, we could use Levi wherever we go. The truth is, Rabbi Rosner mentions that ultimately the people that came from Shimon were big Talmidei Chachamim. They were huge. They were Malamdim. They were the teachers. They also became the teachers. So how did that happen? And so ultimately, that's what we want in the education of our children. We want people that are zealous and strong and believe in the cause of Torah and can go really above and beyond what it means to chinuch, to teach our children. But in any event, that is why Shimon was the only one to get within the confines of Yehuda. Now, Yehuda had a huge amount of land, so it seemed to be okay. Because ki haya chelik b'nei Yehuda rav mehem, it was too much for Yehuda to have all that land. V'yinachlu b'nei Shimon b'toch nachlasam, and so Yehuda was able to give off a portion for Shimon, who took their nachla. Okay, the next one is Zevulun. What is special about Zevulun? So vaya'al hagoral, the goral went up. Va'allah bulam, and their land goes up. They are the only one whose land goes up. What does it mean your land goes up? So, in fact, remember, Zevulun were the source. They were the merchants, and they are the seamen who ultimately are very, very successful because their job is to support Torah. Their job is to support Yisachar. And so the quality of what they do is very significant. Now, they had an amazing amount of wealth, and they were very, very successful because of the bracha that we know that they, what Yaakov felt very comfortable is putting the two of them together. So we know that Zevulun l'chof yamim mishkon, that Zevulun is going to dwell by the sea. Now, interestingly, except for a jutted out portion in the portion that they got, most of it was landlocked. But the part that went Yericho al Sidon, that went into for Sidon, that's the part that ultimately is where the ports and the ships and Yisachar Chamor Goram Rabbeitz ben Mishpasayim. The Yisachar is like a donkey, and so it has. There are on the outside, on the outskirts of his land, is going to be mountains, and on the inside, the Emek Israel, he's got the valleys, and those are also going to have something that is very special, and special kind of land. Now, if we continue to understand and to go back to what Yehoshua gets, what happens from their borders, we have, so Zevulun gets what they get. Immediately following, we have Yisachar, obviously because those two are very, very close, and Yisachar has Emek Yisrael, then after that we have Asher. Now, Ma'asher Shmeila. Asher is a very, very Shmeina Lachmo B'hu Yitin Ma'adane Melach. Asher is destined to be rich. And he has a lot of really so much wealth that it's as though he's going to be stepping in oil. And the oil that he has is just is continuous. He is given a successful portion that is going to continue to reap a lot of wealth, and his land is a very, very wealthy land. Now, in addition to that, so after we have Asher, we have Naphtali. And for Naphtali, basically Naphtali just had the Galil, and then comes Dan. Now, Dan was the last, they're the cleanup crew, even when the Bnei Israel were walking in the Midbar. So it's no wonder that they're the last ones. And what was interesting about Dan is that they have the most northern part. So when we say that it went from Dan to Beersheba, it's because Dan really has the most northern part. And a lot of the places in Dan are places that we've heard of. Places like Bnei Brak, Timnah, Ekron, Ish Shemesh, which is like the Beit Shemesh. And so they really get all of these popular, important cities. Now, the last one at the end, right at the end, after we've given all of the territories away, we've divided everybody up and everybody out. So then comes Yehoshua. And Yehoshua is given the last portion. And the question is, so Vayachlu lechol es ha'aretz l'boha vayitnu b'nei Yisrael nachal liYehoshua ben Nun. And now Yehoshua, now why does he get at the end? Well, imagine what would have happened. It really would have been a political nightmare had he given himself land in the beginning. But essentially, he asks for Timnas Serach and Har Ephraim, and that's exactly what he gets. He gets his portion, and Kalev get portions. Why? Because they deserved it, because they were not swayed, and it's exactly, now, he asked for Timnas Serach. That place does not have great fruit. It's just a regular city that with not great fruit. As a result of him having the land, of course, it becomes great fruit. So the question is, why in the world would he could ask for anything? Why does he ask for Timnas Serach? So Rabbi Rosner mentioned something that's very beautiful. He says it goes back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe, when they asked Moshe, so why do you want so badly to go into Eretz Yisrael? What is it? Is it the fruit that you want? He said, no, I don't care about the fruit. I just care about the mitzvos. I want to go to this holy place so I can have all of the mitzvos that are tzluyos ba'aretz, that are dependent on being in Eretz Yisrael. And similarly here, Yehoshua is saying the same thing. I don't care about the fruit. I can go to a place that doesn't have good fruit. I just want land in Eretz Yisrael, land so that I can do and be the best Jew that I can be. And so it's very becoming and becomedic to Moshe Rabbeinu, that his progeny and the person that would carry out all of what he ultimately really believed so strongly in would ask again for a place that wasn't filled with fruit. But ultimately, that's exactly it. All of the portions are assigned. They, with the help of Elazar, Yehoshua, and all of the heads of the Shvatim, and it's a beautiful idea. They divided the land up. It's finished. And with the division of the land, what we see is everybody gets exactly what they need. In life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us all of the kochos that we need. Each one of these lands was special in its own way, unique for the tafkid, the job that was going to be done by the Shvatim. Each one was going to carry out an important part of being part of Am Yisrael. What was also beautiful is that there was so much, the boundaries were not so clearly defined. On purpose, Hashem was saying, I don't want you to just stick within your boundaries. You're a family, and a family sticks together. You're a family that is allowed, and so the boundaries were a little bit blurred, and one creeped over into the other, etc., etc. It's a highlight that we're Klal Yisrael, we're all together. When one part of Klal Yisrael is hurting, we're all hurting. When one part is going into a bomb shelter, we're all there with them, because we feel it, because we're all together biyachad as a family. And so when the nachlos were all just divvied up, it wasn't to cause divisiveness, but rather to cause unity. Now we're Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael, and this is the way that it should always be. Everyone bringing their own strengths, everyone bringing their own territories, but all coming together to make Am Echad B'Lev Echad.